She's the first person left the agenda. That's fine.
So before consent, yeah, we'll be happy.
We're calling our meeting to order at 4:05. The Livermore Amador Valley Transit Authority, and we will go ahead and stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Vice Chair Branning.
Here.
And Director Brown. Here. Director Casey. Here. Livermore alternate Marchand.
Here.
Director LAVTA. Here. And Chair Hernandez. That's it. We have one. Oh, and just on the record, Director Hubbard is out. And so is Director. Yeah. All right. Welcome back, John. It's been a while.
Yes.
So we'll go ahead and move on to item number 3, which is open to the public. Members of the audience may address the board of directors on any matter within the general subject matter jurisdiction of the LAVTA board of directors. We will have 3 minutes. Not seeing any members of the public.
And I didn't receive anything via email. There is somebody in. I haven't explained to you. Wonder if that's. Yeah. No, doesn't say anything. We'll wait until he raises his hand. That's him. If there's anybody in the public that would like to speak, please
I
raise
don't
your
think
hand.
it is, but
No. Nobody.
all right. So not seeing any members of the public, we will go ahead and go to item number 4, which is the consent agenda with items A through D. So a motion from any members of the board, or is anything you can do?
Motion.
A second thing.
We have a motion and a second to move the consent calendar. Please take a look.
Yes, Vice Chair Brannon.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Yes.
Director Hubbard is absent. Director Josie. Yes. Director or Livermore alternate Marchand.
I will abstain on A and yes on B, C, and D because I was not there.
Okay. Director Testa.
Aye.
And Chair Hernandez.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We will go ahead and move on to item number 5, which is the fiscal year 2023 annual comprehensive financial report.
So presented before you is the culmination of everything the agency did in fiscal year 23 in terms of financial. And then after that, the next 4 months have been audited. The culmination of that is the annual comprehensive financial report, which I am going to introduce. Our auditor, Vicki Rodriguez, she is the CEO of Mays and Associates, our auditing firm, and she will present the annual comprehensive financial report to you. Vicki.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me to this meeting. So we did complete the audit of LAVTA's basic financial statements for fiscal year ended June 30, 2023. We also completed grant compliance audits over Measure BB, Transportation Development Act funds, as well as the single audit, which covers the federal grant awards. Very happy to report that we are issuing an unmodified opinion on the basic financial statements, which is the cleanest opinion that the authority can receive. So congratulations for that. Also happy to report that in our grant compliance audits, we did not detect any non-compliance with any of the grants and had no questioned costs related to those grants as well. The audit itself went very smooth. Staff provided us with everything that we requested and provided everything timely, and were very responsive to our questions. So we had no issues or concerns throughout the audit process. As part of the audit, we do review the internal controls. We gain an understanding of the internal control environment, as well as tests of transactions to make sure that those controls are in place. and we did find the internal controls to be adequate, and we did not detect any material weaknesses and have no significant deficiencies to report either. So again, overall, clean audit, clean opinion, and the grant audits as well were clean. Just some highlights from the report. The authority did implement GASB 96, that's the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, that issued GASB 96 to cover subscription-based IT arrangements. And while the authority did put together the inventory of their different SPIDAs, which is what we call them, because it's a very long phrase, none of the arrangements met the criteria for having to be recorded in terms of being over the authority's threshold. So no changes to the financial statements there. Other highlights, just you'll note that the net pension liability did increase to 1.6 million, which is about a $1 million increase from prior year. And kind of in that same vein, the net OPEB or other post-employment benefits liability did increase about 600,000. Last year it was an asset. This year it's a liability of 300,000. Both of those cases were expected. I think we had pretty much warned last year that most municipalities were showing assets or lower liabilities. This year, where the investment returns did catch up with the actuarial valuations, those liabilities did increase. So again, that was expected and is happening across the industry. With that, are there any questions related to the financial reports or the audit?
Any questions? Mayor Brown?
So Vicki, I'm sure I understand the answer, but you reported a $1.6 million net pension liability. I know there's a 115 trust. Is that an offset of the 115 trust?
No, the 115 trust is shown as restricted cash and investments within the general fund. Just the way that the GASB works, it does not, so the net pension liability does not take into account that section 115 trust.
What is that? Do you have any idea what the amount of the 115 trust is at this point?
200,000, because we want to put in 200,000 and there's a loss, so.
Okay, 200K, just to get a general idea. Okay, that's the question. Thank you.
Any other questions from?
Okay, so this is a great document, by the way. A lot of great information in here, the history and everything else. So I just wanted to take this moment for my own edification to get some information here. So on page 57, it was talking about the year in review and also the future. It talks about the Atlantis facility for hydrogen buses maintenance. So do we have a proposed delivery date for the hydrogen buses?
We do not yet. We have not placed our first fuel cell bus order. We are expecting to place our first order next fiscal year.
Okay, so I know that Gillig is starting to tool up some of these things. And I think it's great that we have 66 Gillig buses. This shows the importance of buying locally. And when we buy these things locally, the Measure BB funds stay here in Tri-Valley. So I think that's a win for everybody.
To answer you on that, John, we're trying very hard to go with Gillig, and Gillig understands the needs of, trying to also manufacture that.
Sure.
Because there's another agency that's already doing it, and of course, we want to keep it here.
Right.
But they gotta get a move on it.
They gotta get,
Yeah,
they
gotta
gotta
get
get,
on it.
I understand that too. And I've been talking to them. Page 86, what is our credit rating?
You don't have a credit rating?
Okay, it says, so the second, okay, so we have, okay, that's a great thing.
So, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it said the LAIF had no credit rating, but I thought, well, I'll ask. But we don't, we have no debt. Okay, so that's great.
Yeah, and LAS are only investments as well.
Page 118, it talks about expenses, series 6. What are series 6 expenses? Is that just our regular operations?
It looks like it might be a label error in the,
Sorry, that page numbers are not matching. No, I'm sorry, page 116.
No,
Thank you, Christie.
They're in the little corners.
Yeah, it shows the, in the little box, it says expenses, Board of Directors Marketing Series 6.
That's operations.
That's, I think like
It's a
operations.
label issue, so we'll get that corrected. Thank you for pointing that out before we submit for our award.
And, I thought page 119 was kind of interesting because, when the graph goes down, our expenses go up, or actually our losses go up. So that's kind of an interesting thing that, but that's, 14% fare box recovery. Page 120, I just think it's astonishing that, with paratransit, our loss per ride is $58. And that's remarkable. So I don't know, maybe it'd be cheaper to get an Uber or cheaper to get a cab.
We actually have a very taxi program that supplements this, where the costs are much lower.
Well, yes, I saw that was that ride is like $4.50. The subsidy, it was significantly less, but I just think that there are all these mandates that are made for us and nobody recognizes the expense of those mandates. And I just think that, that's something that we have to cover. And, let's see, yeah, so a lot of really good information in that, so certainly appreciate that. It's good for somebody to just have all that in one place, so thank you.
Thank you for reading the material.
Pardon?
Thank you for reading the material.
Well, that's what I do. It drives some people crazy, but people have. I use Good Reader a lot because I used to put Post-it notes in all this stuff when I used a binder like that. So I have like 87 Post-it notes, but it just shows that, yeah, this is where I keep track of stuff. So thanks.
Yeah, Vicky really appreciates it. You should keep smiling at it.
If somebody reads it, yes.
Your work is not in vain.
Any other questions? All right, not seeing any other questions. The recommendation, actually, we'll ask if there's any public comment.
I didn't receive any public comment. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak, please raise your hand. No one's raising their hand, and I didn't get anything given.
Okay. All right, so I will bring it back and ask. I'm not seeing any questions. The recommendation is for staff, recommends the board of directors to accept it.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second. We don't need a roll call vote since no one's attending.
It's okay, since we already started, we'll just finish it. Okay, go ahead.
Vice Chair Brandon.
Aye.
Director Brown. Yes. And Director Josie. Yes. David Hubbard is absent, and Livermore alternate Rashawn.
Aye.
And Director Testa.
Aye.
Motion
So we will go ahead and go to item number 6, which is the site board of director meeting dates for 2024.
Good afternoon, board members. This staff report is an action item. We are requesting that you schedule your meeting dates for the 2024 calendar year. Typically, your meetings fall on the first Monday of the month. However, when there is a holiday, we will adjust that date. So January 1st falls on Monday this year. So we are recommending you meet on January 8th. And September, obviously the first Monday in September is always Labor Day. So your September meeting will be held on September 9th. July 1st is also a Monday. So I felt comfortable keeping your meeting date on that day rather than moving it a week later, but would be open to that feedback if the board wanted to schedule that to the 8th of July.
Any feedback? Right. So then I'm gonna go ahead and.
So question, did the meetings used to be on the second Tuesday? Or second Monday?
I don't believe so.
That is always been the
First
same.
Monday.
Yeah, first
Because
Monday.
I remember having to go, because I was on both of these, and I had to go from the ACTC meeting, I was screaming over here, and then we would have the council meeting the same night. That was always on Monday.
Subcommittee.
No, but it actually was on, is that what was it?
Projects and services.
That's right.
So we would, that's our board.
Yeah, but I thought it was the commission meeting,
So
but
some
maybe,
meetings
but this was like 8 years ago, 8, 9 years ago.
It's
Has it been that
possible.
long?
Pardon me?
Has it been that long? It's been on there.
Or longer, because
Yeah.
I've been on 11 years and I've been on.
Okay. All right.
It is definitely possible, July, September, or January,
Yeah,
that we
it
have
does get
the
low.
second Monday of the month.
All right.
Any members of the public?
I didn't receive anything via email. If there's any attendees that would like to speak, please raise your hand. No one's raising their hand, and there's nobody.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and ask for an approval, for the calendar for 2024.
We'll move the staff recommended calendar for 2024. Second. We'll take a quick roll.
Yes, Vice Chair Branning.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Aye.
And Director Hubbard is absent. Director Josie. Aye. Littlemore, alternate Marchand.
Aye.
Director Testa.
Aye.
And then Chair Hernandez.
Right.
Motion passes.
Right. A real motion for both Mary and public hearing.
Michael Tobin will be presenting this to you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Mike Tobin, Director of Operations, here with yet another Wheels in Motion update for you all. I know we never get tired of hearing about Wheels in Motion, but today, just by way of background, of course, Wheels in Motion is the name of the public outreach campaign that LAVTA has been conducting over the past couple of months. Again, this was originally in response to BART Reimagined, which was their service change, which actually went into effect in early September. So as part of this public outreach campaign, staff developed or devised 3 different service level scenarios, and then we went out and solicited input from the community and from our riders on each of these different scenarios. So just to, again, a reminder, scenario 1, that was really status quo, and so under scenario 1, none of our routes or service would change. Scenario 2 would actually increase frequency on our trunk lines.
We're gonna do a practical piece.
I have no slides, this is just. So scenario 2, this would increase the frequency of our trunk line, so that is our rapid routes, our 10R and our 30R, by reducing frequency on our secondary lines. Scenario 3 would emphasize connectivity to BART, so every 20 minutes, and then also expand coverage of the wheels footprint by introducing or reintroducing some routes in historically underserved areas of the tri-island. So the survey officially closed on October 8th, and I'm happy to report that an overwhelming majority of respondents showed a preference for scenario 3. So they emphasize, if you go into the comments, they really emphasize connectivity with BART. That was really important to them, so every 20 minutes, as well as overwhelming support for wheel expanding coverage throughout the tri-island area. We did provide a detailed summary of the findings to the Project and Services Committee, and there are details on each of the scenarios in your board packet. And so this does constitute a major service change under our public participation plan or a Title VI policy. And so that really necessitates us to schedule a public hearing meeting, as well as a 30-day public comment period preceding the public hearing meeting. And so that is actually the recommendation for you today. That is, we recommend that the board open the public comment period from November 7th through December 4th, and then set the public hearing date for December 4th, 2023 for the proposed scenario. Once we have the public comment period and the public hearing, we will then come back to the board in January for the formal approval of the final scenario. And then it will go into effect roughly in late March. So we can have you take any questions after that. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? I know this went to the Project and Services Committee, and sounds like you guys were had a lot of information as you shared with me already. Could you?
Questions back then.
Yeah, that's what okay. So, do you have any questions?
I was glad to see that service to West Livermore South is also extended or started up again, so I'd like to see that.
I'm going to reiterate my point for the major emergency services, but this time in front of the board is I would like to see an alignment with the number of riders and the frequency. So if there's a route, for example, a 20X or a 580X that has no riders on it, or one rider on it, before we move forward with a route change, I'd like to see an alignment with ridership and route changes. Because we're running an organization that's fiscally accountable, and I'm going to make sure we're running buses that have people in them, especially with these route changes. Some of these routes are rarely used. The 70 north on 680 is one of them. And if we're running it at 2 in the afternoon and there's nobody on there,
Is this something you can bring back?
absolutely. Yep. I think we can bring back. Thank you.
I don't know, since our Project and Services meeting, if you've had a chance to speak with BART about the potential that they will again shift the times.
I did speak with Alice, is her name, and she said at this point, they are not considering increasing their service.
So it will be this way for a while.
And I would also like to reiterate the comment that I made in our prior services committee meeting that we not talk about restoring service to West Dublin. So this is not West Dublin service, and that we look at how we can be serving West Dublin. Going forward.
And no other questions or asked, it doesn't make any-
If there's anybody on Zoom that would like to speak in the public, please raise your hand. There's nobody raising their hand, and I didn't receive anything via email for this, nobody there in the audience.
Okay, thank you. So, we're asked for recommendation to open the public hearing from November 7th through December 4th, 2023. And then set the public hearing date, for December 4th, 2023, for the proposed scenario.
I'd like to make that motion, but with the feedback that you heard, that when this comes back, that we have all these 3 points that were mentioned and others, so that when we get the feedback from residents, we have the data to compare that. So I'll make that motion.
I think, Mayor Brown wants a PowerPoint presentation.
Well, we got it, products and services.
We're still learning the words.
It was in the back.
Yeah, but these guys are smart, so they're gonna do it.
Looking at these.
So that's my motion with those changes.
All right, and then, the second, so. Go ahead.
Director Browning.
Hi.
Director Brown.
Yes.
Director Howard's absent, Director Josie. Director Testa. Livermore, alternate John, and Chair Hernandez. Motion.
So we'll move on to our executive director's report.
All right, it's been an exciting month. I'm gonna try to speak slowly and not too frantically, but it's been an awesome month. And I'm gonna end on the rodeo, because that is like the icing on the cake. So, we have slides for you. First of all, ridership continues to be a good news story. You are still seeing month over month increases in ridership on both your school tripper routes and your mainline routes. We are still below our pre-pandemic levels of ridership, but we are getting closer to, I think, 70%. We participated in the Dublin Trunk or Treat on Saturday, October 28th. There are some pictures on page 168 of your packet, and we won trunk or treat. You know, a fog machine does wonders. Spooky bus. It was really a fun event. I was happy to be there, and we left early and still won. So I just have to say, we
And I
were
just want
like,
to say thank you. I know it was short notice, and I'm really, a lot of.
it was so much
you were a
fun.
trooper because you had a really long day that day.
It was so much fun though.
And everybody else that also helped along with that, so I was thinking, so.
We'll be donating our $100 Starbucks gift card to our mechanics who cleaned up all the spider webs. And John Madden can draw a crowd. I can
Yeah.
just tell you, these were tearing up when they came up to that bus. They're like,
Even in death.
oh my goodness. I was like, it's the ghost of John Madden. So anyway, it was a great event, and we would love to participate. If there are other trunk or treats in the Tri-Valley, just let us know. We also went to Orlando. So Chair Hernandez, Supervisor Hobart, and myself went to the annual LAVTA conference and expo. On page 169 of your packet, I have included a few pictures, one of Supervisor Hobart under a bus, just for fun. I presented on your regional 1C ride air transit program. So I was honored to be asked to speak about this really amazing service that we operate, and we've received requests from other transit agencies to have more detailed conversations about how we set that up. So that was really exciting. The ARCHES, so the Alliance for Renewable Clean Hydrogen Energy Systems, ARCHES, was recently announced as the recipient of up to $1.2 billion in U.S. Department of Energy funding to help build a hydrogen hub network. Billion, 1.2 billion to be. We signed on to this. The board authorized us to participate earlier in the year. So we are very excited. The end goal is to bring the cost of clean hydrogen down by increasing supply. So as we learn more, I will share that with the board, but we're very happy to be signed on to this. And we also have been, for the Alameda CTC has recommended $5.2 million in STIP money for your Atlantis facility. Thank you to our commissioners who serve on Alameda CTC for your support for the money. Thank you, Fremont.
Yeah, every month it turned down.
Every little bit counts. I mean, we have an $87 million campus to build, and so we're about, 10% or so, give or take there. So we'll be eagerly seeking grant funding this year, and moving forward on the fueling station construction.
Well, while we were at that, we also got to provide
We did.
the hydrogen, rail system that would potentially be our Valley Link. And I think.
That was my question.
Yeah, Kevin brought that forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, partnering on that.
We got a VIP tour. It was pretty cool. They opened up the fuel cells for us to see. They wouldn't let us take pictures, but, and we got to ride in the front cab when they were operating it, just about a mile.
We passed the last, we didn't, should have read that.
We pushed the red button. It was great. It was great. Okay, so, moving to W-2s in 2024, this was, discussed in your finance committee meeting earlier this year. So we are, moving you to W-2s, and therefore we will need to collect some information from you. We'll need a complete W-4 and an I-9 with an acceptable form of documentation, like your passport or your social security card. So we'll follow up. As needed, but if you want to bring any of those documents with you at the next time you're in this building, we can process you right away.
Why we're switching from 1099 to W-2s?
It was a request.
So what it was is, actually Stockways does this already, it's a little bit better calculations. So Brittany, was, she would do her taxes at the end of the year or whenever she does, some people do them in April or October. And, a lot of them weren't getting any taxes taken out.
Right.
And so what happens is, I think that the little glitch in the taxes, but Stockways did it, it's actually better that, a lot of the commissions do this, because it's nicer math when you do your taxes. Because they don't take taxes out.
Right, you just pay it.
So what,
At the end of the year.
what waste management does, Stockways does, is you actually get taxes taken out. So that's, consideration, instead of her having to pay or something like that. Now, I don't want to just say her, because I'm sure it happens to many other people as well. But that was a concern that she brought forward, that really wanted us to go to what we do. And it's not anything difficult to start with. You're just gonna get your taxes from there.
I mean, most of the committees where I'm on the 1099s, I get paid as a 1099. So some people are just accustomed to it. And the stipend is not usually much of your income, so. Okay.
For current and upcoming procurements, we have our IT modernization and cloud transformation project that RFP closed about a week and a half ago, and last week, and we are going to be making a recommendation for award, scheduled to go to finance and admin, and possibly also projects and services in November to the board in December. We have a wireless network site survey configuration and upgrade service RFP that is out on the street right now. And proposals are due December 8th. And we are looking into procuring professional services for advocacy, lobbying, and grant writing right now to help better position us to receive funding for Atlantis. In your packet, you've got your fixed route paratransit statistics. Just wanted to highlight your paratransit on-time performance continues to be amazing. It's 97.2%. We have a very strong partnership with County Connection in providing paratransit service. And your Go Tri-Valley, which is the Uber Lyft discount, is stabilizing, which is wonderful. So I met with both with leadership from Uber and Lyft while at LAVTA to talk to them about our concerns about the ridership going through the roof. And they, of course, are both very open to making changes to that program. And it is scheduled to come to the Projects and Services Committee in the new year. So to give you some recommendations about trip capping, making it to and from a bus stop only, modifying the hours that it's available. So there are some options for you. And I just wanted to note that I'm going to be rethinking the executive director's report format. I've been kind of noodling with it each month, but I think I'd like to include a capital project section. So every month you have a snippet of the work we're doing on the capital project side. And also marketing and social media. I'd love to share the press releases, the engagements that we're getting on social media. Through some LinkedIn posts, we are getting like 200% more views on our page. We didn't start with many, so 200% isn't tremendous, but it's great. I feel really good about it. So I think that it would be nice to share with you what we're posting on social media. So go ahead.
Can I ask a question? It's great that our paratransit on time percentages are fantastic. Our fixed route on time percentage, not so much. How much of our fixed route not being on time is school trip versus our other routes?
I will have to get back to you on that. Cyrus is not here today, and he's the one I believe that can pass that information, but I will absolutely get back to you.
It'd be good to know that. And if we need to tweak again the school trip routes, I mean, I don't know about Pleasanton and Livermore, but I subscribe to the on-time alerts for all of the school trip routes in Dublin. Mostly so I know which kids did mark absent or tardy, excused and which to be unexcused, but it's daily. 6 minutes late, 7 minutes late, 8 minutes late. What I don't know is if they're actually arriving to school that late. I mean, if they're beyond the bell that late, or how early are they supposed to be at school versus what time they're actually getting to school. So at what point do we decide a route is not that it's late every day, so we need to adjust the times? Because there's a couple of them that it's 3 days a week that they're running 6 or 7 minutes late. And I don't know what time they actually arrive. I haven't looked at the schedules that closely to know, is 7 minutes late still sufficiently before the bell so that the kids aren't into school? Or are we so tight on those routes that 7 minutes late puts them late to class?
I think we give a 20-minute buffer, if I recall, but we'll definitely check. I haven't heard complaints about buses not showing up and students missing the bell, but we will check.
Okay.
Didn't we talk about that in project services and talked about starting a little earlier?
We did start around, we did move about it. Yeah, but it's all 4 of the routes that show up to Dublin that are pinging regularly 6 or 7 minutes late, and that might be just fine. As long as the kids aren't late to school, fine, but it does factor into our on-time performance. And if most of the on-time performance is the school trip routes, and yet the kids are still getting to school on time, and it makes our data look bad, but functionally it doesn't really matter as much.
I think most of the local routes contribute to your on-time performance. There's just way more data points to collect. The school trippers only have, 4 or 5 time points, and they only run twice a day. So, but I will absolutely check.
Okay, because if it's the routes that are getting to BART, that's a bigger problem. And as we move to changing our routes going forward, we need to make sure that we're getting, now that we're going to be coordinating with every 20 minutes, and we need to make sure those routes are on track.
Any other questions before I go to the rodeo?
Another question. So on paratransit, page 173. Excuse me a second, I lost it. There we go. Yeah, page 172, paratransit. It shows the average wait time for calls in minutes is 82.9%.
Let's see, are you on page 172?
172.
Is it at the top right here, the average wait time for calls?
Oh, yeah.
Calls in the top box.
So we have a standard where we want, I think it's 90 or 95% of our calls picked up within 1 minute. And so currently we are not meeting, or our contractor is not meeting that standard. They are, only 82% of calls are being answered within that 60 seconds.
Okay, just what it looks like the column should be average wait time for calls in minutes. And it says 82%.
Yeah, well, I will correct that.
And then also on cost per trip, on year to date, it's 5,769.5.
There's an error there, so we will fix that and send that back out.
And I think that probably ties in somewhere to the cost per trip of like 58%, $58 somewhere. And it looks like that might have been just, we dropped it
we'll check, we'll make sure all of the roads align. But the cost per trip is, I think, what we are expecting. It's
Yeah.
actually cheaper than some agencies, so, but yeah, we will absolutely check and make sure everything.
Because if you look at this lower box to Mayor Marchand's point, and there is a current, for cost per passenger, and it is right around 50, not up by the 60, which you would expect a 58.44 to be.
And I think this chart also only goes up to 2022. So I think we're missing the 23, so I should be paying more attention to this. My apologies for the errors here,
There are
but
some folks who.
and I apparently haven't been reading
No
the details,
worries.
so I will be working with staff to.
Okay.
Any other questions about?
It's been staying in the same graph for a while.
Oh, thank God.
Before the
Darn,
year
I got that.
23.
Jen, will you pull up the slides from earlier?
Oh, wait, I wanted to, before you go to that, I wanted to also share that, we also, and some of the team, went to the AC Transit, on that, but actually last Thursday as well, with regards to looking at what they have coming forward. Obviously, we're not apples to apples because they are completely different, bus agency, and they meet the needs of so many other people and bigger areas. But they had a lot of, great ideas to share, for future with our, bus transportation and what we could do for maybe potential funding and just sharing. And it's just good to be able to have that relationship with other agencies as well. Again, we've not compared AC Transit, but it's always good to have a collaboration between the executive directors and being able to just have those conversations. So I always feel that we're always learning something new, and it's good for us to bring back. Yeah.
We got a tour of AC Transit's Division 4 facility, which is their hydrogen facility. So we got to see hydrogen fueling station, and they have been in the hydrogen space for 12 or more years. They have some of the original hydrogen fuel cell buses from New Flyer. So they've done a lot of work and have offered their, help and assistance as we start to build out our facilities and transit.
Is AC Transit.
Yeah, and their COO lives in Livermore. So Salvador Llamas was a friend of mine, and he agreed to give us a tour. So it was really cool. All right, so would you pull up the video this one?
Ooh.
Okay, so.
Oh, PowerPoint.
Loves a PowerPoint. So we want to give you an update on the rodeo, which was so awesome. It was just over a week ago on the 28th of October. And it was the first time we hosted one in like probably 15 years. There's a trophy in the MV side of the house that says 2006 rodeo champ. So that's the best I got. So we were really happy to host this for our workforce. This is a big thing. This is a big deal, these rodeos. Like they draw a crowd, people take them very seriously. There is an international competition. Apparently there's a swap meet that happens before where people trade pins and jackets and memorabilia. I didn't know that. But this guild course has 10 different problems that operators are timed. They have 10 minutes or less to complete the course, and then they are measured in accuracy. How close did they get to cones, to curves, and whatnot. And yeah, we put this on. We had wonderful sponsorships from the Teamsters and from Gillig. Gillig sponsored the event, helped pay for some of the goodies. We invited families of our operators and our board members, and thank you to those of you who could make it. We had a face cleaner. Next slide, please. So yeah, lots of cones, hundreds of cones. This says 11 skill stations, but I thought it was 10. It's 10. Okay.
It's 10 stations, but there's 11 things you score.
Okay.
12 things you score.
And then we had a cone killer, who is the lovely lady on the bottom right, Mary McGee. She's a new operator. She was so nervous about doing this course. She had only practiced twice, and she did not win it, but she got the cone killer award. So she was very happy about that. Next slide, please.
Is that running over the most cones?
Yes, that's exactly. And Evan was a close second, I think.
Not the most, it was just the most
It
dramatic.
was very much the biggest kind of right by end. So we had multiple divisions. So our APTA division were people competing to go to the international. And Miss Evelyn, who was also with me at Trunk Retreat, she took the grand prize. We will be sending her to Portland in April, followed by Wayne Wallace and Sly Costa. And then we had an open division, so anyone, you know, maintenance staff, supervisors could compete.
The Maribel, her name is really well.
She did great.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did great. Maribel's one of our, I think, utility tech workers, and she holds her steering wheel really cute. She holds it like, she reverses it and she holds it from the top. It's just, that's how she drives the bus, and she did great. And then our board director winner, Councilmember Jean Josie, you know. Next slide, please. So again, this was as much an employee appreciation event as it was a competition, just a great turnout. We weren't sure how many people would come. Honestly, we were like, maybe 75, maybe 100. We had about 150. We had AC Transit, folks were there, a County Connection, Gillig. We hired a consultant, Joe Tating, who many of you got to meet. He was your instructor to teach you how to drive the bus. He has an entourage, so he just travels. He has a photographer that comes with him. He had about 10 people from AC Transit that he recruited, so he was really instrumental in making this a success. We owe a lot of thanks to Joe. Next slide, please. And this concludes the slides. Thank you so much.
But you didn't have a picture of the announcer.
I gave that, I have one, I have a good one.
Okay,
But
he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
we had a very animated.
And he was a bus driver.
Yes, I have a picture of that. I can,
Yeah, he was really, really amazing.
I love the fact that you did this on Halloween weekend and tied that all in so that there was, you know, things for kids to do, things for kids to look at. There was, you know, all of that going on as well. It made it really fun.
they
People
destroyed
walking
the bus.
around in costume and, what'd you say?
The kids destroyed the bus.
Oh,
The haunted bus. But bounce house next year.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Oh, that made the
Yeah, he was really good.
We'll get more sponsors.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But the fact that there was a theme to it made it,
Yeah, she was one
I
of
mean,
those.
it's built in, but having it, calling it Halloween Wheels, I thought that was great, and I hope we do it again next year.
You know, when we switched that W, people said, it looked kind of wicked. When that logo changed years ago, yeah. Thank you staff for putting it together. You did a great job. Wish I was there next
Oh, it was
time.
so much fun.
It was really, really fun.
Very
The
much
weather
fun.
was great for it.
There's a full moon.
Yeah, it
You could
is.
have some students come next time.
I know.
Oh, yeah. Can they drive the bus?
We had,
outside?
thanks to the students, we had volunteer students also that come out.
We got a ton of interns.
Bunch of
Yeah.
people there.
Yeah.
I think the folks from Tesla actually showed up to enjoy some of the food. They just wandered across the street. It was probably why we had so many people there, but that's fine. It was a really great event.
Is their thought, now that we've done it once, of opening it up for people to come watch?
Yeah, we have to think about that. I think I'm not sure of rodeos that are open to the public, but we can definitely get that involved.
Because I think, you know, it might be a way to sort of promote how great our drivers are and, you know, promote wheels and let people come out and watch if the drivers are amenable to that, you know, I don't know how people feel.
Invite the riders, the riders of our buses, yeah.
Everybody, you know, let people come out and cheer for their favorite drivers and, you know, the people that ride the bus all the time. You know, advertise it on the buses and just, you know, be a great sort of PR thing for wheels.
I would ask the drivers at first.
Yes,
If it's
that's what I
something
mean.
that they do traditionally and that they don't really.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
something that you
Yeah,
want to
for
be
sure.
sensitive to.
I think they cost for
Yeah.
All right, so, again, thank you to all the staff that was there all day long, and then in the evening as well too, so. Not seeing any, or do we have any matters initiated by the board? Not seeing any matters, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. And at 4:49, and our next meeting will be on December 4th.
Yeah.